Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pipe Report. So, I figured I would briefly go over why Trump moving the American embassy to Jerusalem is such a big deal. Now, before we begin, I should say that what Trump did here is not considered radical. And the reason I say that is because in 1995, Congress passed legislation and Bill Clinton signed it that the American government would move their embassy to Jerusalem. That being said, even though that bill was signed, it was never actually done. However, Trump did uphold it. Now, I'm not saying I agree with it, because I will go over why, but you should know that up front, that this is something that's not like he did it off the top of his head and it's radical. It has been actually signed into law years ago, just never upheld. Likewise, with the fence, the border wall, in 2006, Congress passed a border wall, and it was signed by Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Barack Obama. The reason why the wall or the fence was never built was because it was never appropriated any money from Congress. But it was actually passed, and it was voted by those who now oppose it, which is kind of ironic. Anyways, so what this does by the U.S., by Trump moving the American embassy to Jerusalem, is it essentially recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Now, why is this a problem? Well, to know why this is a problem, we have to go back to, decades ago, to the inception of Israel. So, in 1948, Israel set up its parliament in West Jerusalem, and it occupied 78% of the land, with the remaining 22% split between Gaza and the West Bank. However, during the Six-Day War between it was called the Six-Day Arab-Israel War. Basically, it was a war between Israel and Palestine. Israel annexed Arab-controlled East Jerusalem, including the Old City. Now, the Old City is important. I will explain why soon. Anyways, since then, they have been claiming both parts of Jerusalem, the East and the West, as its undivided capital. Now, that is important because pretty much every other country in the world does not recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. However, Israel says it is. So, what is going on with this now? Why are they upset over this? Well, Palestine wants East Jerusalem as their capital. Most countries in the world, like I said, do not recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. So this incentivizes Palestine to want East Jerusalem. The main drama, though, is due to the fight over the Old City. The Old City has the Temple Mount, which is the most sacred place in Judaism. It is the site of Solomon's temple, which is to have housed the Ark of the Covenant. The site is also one of the most holy places in Islam. It's known to Muslims as the Noble Sanctuary, which is where Muhammad had his night journey, which was his ascension from earth to heaven. So, those trying to broker peace between Israel and Palestine are trying to create a two-state solution in which Jerusalem would serve as capital of both states. East Jerusalem for Palestine and West Jerusalem for Israel. So what this move by Trump does is essentially tell Palestine that the U.S. stands behind Israel, and by extension, Israel's claims to East and West Jerusalem. This is why we are seeing lots of angry protests from the Palestinians, and some could argue, rightfully so. So, what Trump did here is he did fulfill a campaign promise. He did promise in the campaign to do this. So, I think he did that as one of the reasons. One of the main reasons why he did it was because he said he was going to do it. I disagree with it. I'm keeping it real here. I'm keeping it real on PolitiHub, aka the Pipe Reports. We keep it real here. I don't think this is a good idea. I don't see any benefit from it. It's only going to increase more turmoil. I think we help Israel out enough. We already give them over $3 billion a year in aid. Now, when you look at $3 billion, you look at our national debt of $20 trillion, one could claim that that is just minuscule by comparison, but $3 billion is actually a lot of money. We can do a lot with $3 billion. We are basically helping Israel out a lot. And Israel has a lot of power and a lot of influence in the American government. There was a scandal a few years back where if you would call your congressman or your senator and you would ask them which ones in which members of Congress have dual citizenship with Israel, they would not tell you, even though they're supposed to tell you, but they would not tell you. They're hiding it. So I won't get into all the conspiracy theories here regarding the Jews and everything like that, but it's no secret and it's no conspiracy that Israel does have a lot of influence in American politics. And one could estimate that this move is going to benefit them a lot. And it's going to pretty much make the US support them more now, because Israel is going to receive a lot more hostility against them now, since the US is basically recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So the Arab world around that part, especially members like Hamas and Hezbollah, they're going to be quite angry, as we are already seeing from these violent protests happening in the streets. So I understand why Trump did it. I know that in 1995, Congress passed a bill to do this, so we can't really just put the blame on Trump like this is something he did alone that's radical, because he just followed the law. But I disagree with it. And I don't really see the point of it. I think it's going to cause more turmoil in the Middle East, and I don't think you're going to get anywhere near a peace deal between Palestine and Israel if you actually basically declare Israel as Jerusalem's rightful owner before the peace talks even begin. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. And I'm done.